Welcome everyone. We are live from the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250 at Milwaukee Indy Fest, presented by the Metro Milwaukee Honda dealers. Mark, yes, one of the big topics has not been on the event that I just mentioned, rather on the last event, the MAV TV 500 in Fontana. You said it was the greatest race you've ever seen. Of course, that was not the opinion shared by all due to a variety of factors. Care to elaborate?
Well, yeah, I think it was great racing. The concern, I think, was whether it was too dangerous for open wheel racing. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that some of the drivers were making a lot of moves and changing lanes in the corners rather than holding their line, and that made it much more dangerous. And so that, I think, unnerved a lot of other drivers. From a fan standpoint, I think it was fantastic. It was exciting. But I think that if they're going to do this and do it again, I think it can be done again. It just needs to be tempered a little bit with, number one, some rules that would black flag you if you change lanes. Just like, if you change lanes under braking and try to block somebody, right? Should you really be changing lanes on a high-speed oval like we saw, which could be dangerous. The other thing is, of course, is that in the last 20 years, most of the deaths, I think maybe all the deaths that we've seen in IndyCar have been with the drivers hitting their heads on a fence post. And all the drivers I've talked to here this weekend all agree that the cars need to have canopies in order to protect their heads. And if they had that, they probably could go racing and do more pack racing and put on a show for the fans. But the way it is right now, a lot of them are concerned that they'll touch wheels and get up in the fence, and their head will hit the fence post, and it could be fatal. So I think that's really the nuts and bolts of the concern. Some of the other concerns was, well, it's not as real driving. You're not really sliding the car. It's wide open, 100% throttle. Which, yes, we hear that same argument with NASCAR drivers with pack racing. It's a different kind of racing. It takes some skill, not to hit anybody, right? Is to keep your car under control and not hit anybody. But it's different than driving the car and sliding the car and getting sideways, and really pushing the limit. But it's entertaining. The pack racing races, the restrictor plate races in NASCAR are the most popular. That's what the fans want. That's what the paying customer wants. Why not give it to them? Just try to make it safer, but give the fans what they want.
Yeah, first off, I think that it was 3 exciting hours, 2.5 exciting hours, whatever it was. One driver told us that his foot went numb driving. I don't know what I think of that. Is that really good racing? Is that really what the series wants to do long term? Have that kind of thing going on? I'm not 100% sure. But it was entertaining, it was enjoyable, and yes, I think that, with a series with the television numbers struggling and such, that race had a big tune-in factor, and I think that, people maybe saw things on social media, or they went to the channel and stopped, and stayed there. So there's something to be said for that. At the same time, we don't want anybody flying into the fence post, so I think there's a lot for the series to chew on, and I think that, this hasn't been resolved yet. It's probably not going to be that way for a while. Another thing I mentioned there was the television package. We have made a lot of this in a number of different ways. You say the one thing is that to get out of the Leader Circle program and use that money to invest in a network television deal, the teams would be able to sell sponsorship. You've heard some stuff on that this weekend. Care to elaborate?
Yeah, I spoke to Mark Miles about this. He basically admitted that the Leader Circle program is a welfare program, and we need to get off of that. He said we can't do it overnight. We need to wean the teams off of it. He is trying to do something better with the TV package. He inherited the current package that they have, which runs until 2018. And unfortunately, the way it's structured, ABC has all the network races, and right now they only take about 5 or 6. And then all the other races are on NBC Sports Network. And he's trying to redo the deal with ABC so that they take the first part of the season, successive races, on ABC, and then the rest of the season would be NBC. And he also wants them, he thinks that they will agree to allowing NBC to put some races on NBC Network TV and some races on NBC Sports Network. We may also see some races on ESPN as part of the ABC package. Don't know yet, they're still talking. But, from my perspective, I don't see why ABC should object to NBC having some races on network TV. A rising tide raises all ships. If that raises the popularity, the viewership for the series, it becomes more popular over time, and that's going to benefit ABC races, right? He did say that just putting 3 more races on network TV for the year will raise their viewership for the year by 40%. That's how significant network TV is in terms of getting eyeballs watching your product versus these cable channels. So it absolutely needs to happen. I've been on this for a long time. In my opinion, they should all the races should be on network TV, and everybody will benefit, including ABC, everybody. But we're not there yet. They're not there yet. So it takes money to do that, and that's going to have to be planned out. It probably won't happen until a complete new TV deal is done, after 2018. So right now they're just trying to adjust the current deal, as I understand it.
Wow, you didn't tell me any of that. That's good news. I mean, that's as good of a...
It's good news if you can get it done. Remember, everybody has to agree. Everybody has to agree, and it's not there yet, so...
Yeah, I just the idea that it's being discussed and that they're sort of thinking creatively, I think is good. I mean, that's something we have been harping on, and yeah, that's good. And of course, with television, we have next year's race schedule. Anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One is he told me, Mark Miles, that he's trying his best to get it out by the end of the season, which would be the end of August, right? That's what they're trying to do. We discussed, he said, NASCAR is the big 80-pound gorilla in the room, 300-pound gorilla in the room, I'm sorry, and it's hard. They're having some trouble, I guess, getting time slots and matching the time slots with the race schedule, because NASCAR's sucking up all of the time slots, and they're bringing in all the advertisers, and they're getting first dibs. And so I said to him, well, why don't you just put all the races on ABC? He said, well, I can't right now because we got the contract we have to fulfill. But there's possibly some merit in going ABC, not to compete with NASCAR in terms of time slots and all. So, but that's for the future. Right now, they're going to struggle with NASCAR being the 300-pound gorilla in the room. It's going to be difficult for IndyCar, I think. Getting a good schedule with the TV.
Okay, one last thing. We are going to have to wrap up soon. Looks like Spencer Pigot just won pole for the Indy Lights race. They're going to be in here for a presser. Mark, you heard something today about Formula E, which wasn't good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard that. I've said it recently when I wrote that the Formula E was based on a flawed economic model, and I meant that. You can't fly cars all over the world and it not be expensive, and that's what Formula E is doing. Unless you have the big bucks behind you, like Formula One does, you're going to lose your shirt. And I heard today that they lost $220 million in the first year. So
maybe charge for tickets.
Yeah, you start trying to sell tickets to offset those costs and charge higher ticket prices for fans to come and see. But I'm of the opinion, and maybe you don't agree with me, that race fans are not going to pay high ticket prices to go watch quiet cars run around the track. It's going to put them to sleep, in my opinion. Quiet racing is not exciting, in my opinion. And the most exciting racing is when the engines scream. Those Formula One engines, and when back in the kart days, when those engines would scream, that was the most exciting, and that's when the grandstands were full. And until we get that back, the grandstands are not going to be full. It's got to be exciting. There's got to be a wow factor. Green racing is not exciting. Green cars that get a high miles per gallon that last a long time may be great for passenger cars, but it is no place for racing. Doesn't work with the fans, and that's just my very strong opinion. Haven't been in the sport since 1965. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, we disagree a little on that. I know you weren't counting, Daniel Lapp's, power or battery power in the last race or anything, but I think there is something to be said for that wow factor, which Formula E isn't going to produce, and whatever it does sell has to be different from that. And what is that hook that's going to get people invested in it? I don't know. Anyway, that is all for now. We have to wrap up. The Indy Lights press conference is about to come in here. So for Mark Cipolloni, I'm Brian Carroccio reporting from the Milwaukee Mile. Thanks.
See you tomorrow.